Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Slay to Success Talk Show. My name is Rochelle Slay Queen Hemingway, CEO and founder of Slay to Success. Y'all know what time it is, so this is the show for us to bring in men and women and highlight them because they are positively impacting the world using the Slay philosophies. And yes, the Slay is all about killing it, dominating and nailing it, being on point, to impress greatly, to dream big and work hard until you own it. It is also an acronym that stands for Universal Life and Leadership Philosophies that really resonate with me the most. S, stay ready, be ready. L, lead out loud. A sense of community. And Y, you are built to last. So I am a professional keynote speaker, an author, a personal brand expert, certified image consultant, but most importantly, I'm a proud United States Air Force veteran. And so when we are on the show here, y'all, we're just going to be bringing the energy. And I have a SLAYMAZING guest, y'all. Okay. Now, we were together probably a few weeks ago, but let's say probably that a few months ago, maybe a couple months ago, we met and we had a long conversation. Then we said, hey, we got podcasts, we've got talk shows. Let's get on here and enjoy one another on these platforms. And I'm like, she's my sister from another mister, y'all. And so you are in for a special treat tonight. So as you come in, please, please, please let us know where you're streaming in from, where you're tuning in from, and give us your name into the chat so that way we can bring you on into the conversation because we love, love, love when people come here live. I appreciate you because you could be spending your time anywhere else because there's a lot of other things out there, but you decided to spend some time here on the Slay to Success Talk Show. I advise and empower women professionals, especially women veterans, to step up into their most authentic personal brand so they can attract the right opportunities. And not just only the right opportunities, I'm talking about lucrative opportunities. So if you are following me here on LinkedIn, hey LinkedIn, or on Facebook, hey, most Facebook is my family, my friends, how y'all doing? And then on YouTube, please make sure you listen, share, and subscribe on YouTube. If you are not following me on YouTube, I put out videos Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right now. And on Tuesdays, I'm here live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Rise and Slay Morning Show. Okay, I had to get all of that information out there, right? So that way you know what's going on. So I wasn't here last weekend. Why? Y'all know the Super Bowl was playing, right? And I wasn't trying to be on top of the Super Bowl because I know competing with that is not a great thing. I knew I was going to be the last person that people wanted to view in. And so being on the show today, I'm absolutely, absolutely excited about what we are going to be talking about. So let me just give you a preview, if you will, of my guest. Now, her name is Renea Jones-Hudson, y'all. She is an empowerment coach with over 20 years of military service, specializing in supporting transitioning military and veteran women. Her career began with 13 years as an enlisted soldier and continued as a logistics officer for 8 years, equipping her with a deep understanding of the unique challenges of military life and the transition to civilian life. Now, she holds a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology and a Master's of Science in Criminal Justice and is pursuing a Doctor of Psychology in Health and Wellness. After return from the military, Renea turned her passion for health and wellness into action, opening a fitness studio in Virginia. And later, she founded Empowered Life Coaching Solutions in Georgia. She's offering personalized coaching programs, workshops, and community building events to help female veterans rediscover their purpose and confidence. Her coaching philosophy emphasizes resilience, self-discovery, and holistic well-being, addressing mental, physical, and financial health. Now, she has a whole list of other things that we are going to be talking through live, because I want to just bring her onto the stage right now. So please give a warm welcome, if you will, for my guest.
Hi.
Hey, what's happening? What's going on?
This is such a pleasure to be here. I'm excited. Can you tell?
Oh yeah, well, I like when we knew that we, had these platforms. I was like, you know what, girl, I'm on yours, you're on mine. You
Yes.
know, you probably be going to be a repeat guest because we are so much in an alignment. It's not even
Yes.
funny.
Yes.
So I'm so grateful and blessed that we were able to meet, and we
Yes.
already have one guest here with us. Hey, Eilena. Oh
Hi,
wait, I,
Liana.
Ileana. Ileana?
Liana.
Ileana. I think it's
Yes.
Ileana. Hey, Ileana. I'm going to have to say it over and over again just
Yeah.
to make sure I get it right. All right. She says, hello, happy Sunday. Aha, Workforce Education Solutions from LinkedIn. Yes. Well, thank you for joining us from LinkedIn, because, again, you could be spending your time anywhere else, but we would
Yeah.
love for you to be part of our conversation tonight. So thank you so much. Um, but Renee, I mean, oh my goodness, where can we begin this conversation at? All right. First of all, so can you give our audience a little bit of preview about yourself? Like, where did you grow up? Kind of how you went into the Army, a little bit about what you experienced, and then a little bit about, the transition. And then we'll get started with our conversation from there.
Okay, I'm gonna try to cut down my army story because it's funny, but
Oh, jeez.
I was as naive as they came.
I think we all were.
Yeah. So I'm originally from the island of Jamaica. I migrated here when I was 14 or 15. Moved to New Jersey. I lived for a little bit in Canada. So I went to school in New Jersey, went to school in Canada, came back to New Jersey, and then I left for the army at 18. So I had a whole lot of transitions before I even went into the military. So I was practicing.
Yeah, you were. Mhm.
So I joined the army when I was 18 years old, and so funny story. When I was in high school, I was walking past I didn't know what I want. My goal was always to go to college. I just wanted to go to college, like I saw in the shows when I was back in Jamaica. So my only dream was just to go to college and experience college life.
Right.
So, as luck would have it, someone told me that I couldn't go to college because I wasn't a citizen at the time. So I was like, oh, really?
Mm.
So it kind of devastated me. But one day, this even sounds like a movie. I'm walking by the cafeteria in high school, and the army recruiter was there. His name was, can I say his name? It's
Yeah.
long. He probably don't even
Yeah.
remember me. Okay, the army.
Yeah.
He was there. Sergeant Morris was standing at the little table with his little army stuff out, and that was when it was be all you can be, right?
Yeah.
So he said, join the army, go to school. All I heard was go to school, and I was in. I
They
was
get us every
in.
time.
Yes. So fast forward, I remember the day I left for basic training. My aunt, because I was living with my aunt, she was standing at the door, and she looked so afraid because she was like, man, this guy, she just got in the car with this guy, and we're just going off to wherever. But I
Mhm.
wasn't afraid. I was just like, curious. I was like, oh, where are we going? What are we gonna do? I guess I could say I was a little afraid, but I was more curious because I was like, I'm going to college.
Right.
Well, got to basic training, rode on a cattle truck now, like a real cattle truck. And I was like, whoa, this how they go to college? Like, I'm still in my head. I'm still in college until I got to basic training. They started yelling at me. I was like, this is not college. Not college. But cutting the story short, I did go to school. I was fortunate enough to have very and I really consider this a blessing, and it's because I was on a mission to go to school. It was
Hmm.
part-time. I did my undergrad, part-time, my master's part-time, but I stayed focused on that goal. I mean, I had to, ultimately conform to Uncle Sam's mission because
Hmm.
I was in the army. But I will say that I had very good leadership, and then I stayed true to my purpose too at the time. I stayed true to wanting to go to school, but it only helped me.
Yeah.
Then when I opened up a fitness studio. I tell this story all the time. I did not have a plan. It was one of those days. I was like, you know what? I think I want to do something else. Nobody upset me. I was not it wasn't a quarrel with anyone. It just one day I was just like, you know what? I want to do more. I'm pretty young. I want to see what else is there. No plan. And got out, just really still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
My husband was like, because I was always good at PT. I was a competitive bodybuilder in the military, so I was like, okay, I did get my associates in exercise science.
Yeah.
So I was like, my husband's like, just open up a fitness studio. I was like, okay, I'll do that. So it started in my garage, and then
Oh,
it grew. So I ultimately ended up I got a brick and mortar, and then from there it was very good until the pandemic. Everything shut down in the pandemic, and I
yeah.
was not prepared for virtual.
Yeah.
Was not prepared at all. So we moved. My son was in college. We really didn't have a strong tie to Virginia at that time, just the fact that we had been there so long.
Yeah.
And we had family. We were coming back and forth to Georgia. So we just decided we were going to move here. His family's in Arkansas. My family was here in Georgia. So it was a good trade. We moved here. And then that's when the shift took place. I got coaching for myself, which is what introduced me to coaching, the civilian version of coaching.
Uh-huh.
We've been coached all our
We've been
lives.
coached all our life.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I got coaching, just kind of really learning and growing as I'm going along. I learned about networking, building relationships, and all of that. And then, I started Empowered Life Coaching Solutions, which is going to change moving forward. It's going to represent what I do. And so it's going to move from that to I'm just going to be beyond the uniform. That's what I'm going to be known for, beyond the uniform. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
but I'm just excited. I'm really just excited about possibilities, meeting wonderful, beautiful people like you. It's really energizing, just growing and just evolving. But it also came with a mindset shift too. So, and
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about that as we get along. But
Oh, yeah. Like, I have so much,
yeah,
like, from what you just shared that we can,
yeah,
talk more through because, well, first of all, I've got Chevy on here, and Chevy is tuning in from LinkedIn. Hey, Queen. And she is originally from Guyana. So,
oh yes.
yeah.
My
So,
grandfather was Guyanese. Well, he was
really?
Guyanese. He was raised in Cuba. My
Ah,
grandmother's Panamanian, so I got a little Latino in me.
yeah. But it's so interesting because, it's just like the parallels and the stories that
Yeah,
you want to come to the States, and then you come to the States and you want to go to school, and you
yes,
want to, like, explore and do some different things outside of your country. And
yes,
when I was in the military, I used to ask other people who were from different countries, like, why did you come into this military? And it was always either school or it was just a better way for
yes,
them and their family because they were
yeah,
always looking at supporting their family that were back home in the country.
yeah,
So I absolutely loved that you shared that with us because I think that's important for people to understand that, diversity in
yeah,
the way that we're showing up. And also, like you went to the fitness realm. I'm also like big into fitness, and when we take on things that we don't even know really how to do it, we just go
yeah,
and we just do it. We just like, you know what, today I make a decision that that's
yeah,
what I'm gonna do, right?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and I really think that has a lot to do. Even though some may think that, it's a little bit scary to take a leap of faith, but I really think that it has a lot to do with our military careers.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like going into unknown certainty, like all these different places, and then doing all these new things. And then when you transition out, it's now you get an opportunity to take that leap of faith,
Yeah.
you know. And I know for me, and I don't know, where you were at when you retired. And y'all, she did 21 years, all right, in the army. So when you retire, sometimes people will tell you, there's government jobs out here, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know what your feeling was about that. I would love for you to share.
Oh, I will share that with you. So when I was falling into that pattern as well, I did apply to several jobs, and I was accepted. I remember one of them, I was waiting for them to call me back. It was 2 weeks. They took 2 weeks to call me back. And I was, up until the phone call, I was like, okay, I will, this is what I'm gonna do. Funny enough, this was not planned. When the gentleman, was congratulating me and everything, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna respectfully decline. I'm just gonna start my own business. That came out of nowhere. My husband's like, why did you do that? I was like, I don't know. But in all honesty, when I was on the interviews, even doing the interviews, it was just something like, this is not what I want to do. I started thinking about how much of my son's life events I missed, his some graduations, birthdays, just for deployments, and just the time that I didn't control. Like, now my daughter she's almost 12, my son is 25, and they live two different lives. She
Yeah.
is does not know a life without me. On the other hand, my son is like, you don't even know how it was, he's talking to her. But for me, I just like I said, that just from me speaking that, I just went on along with it. And that's how come I ended up opening up the fitness studio, because I just really wanted that time freedom.
Mm-hmm.
When I retired from the military, I think my daughter was maybe 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, she might have been younger, but she was around. She was young. She was a toddler, and I still say it was one of the best things that I did at that time, because I enjoy taking her to some of my speaking engagements. I enjoy taking her to the nonprofit. I enjoy just exposing her to different aspects. She travels a lot more than my son did, and he gets offended because he's like, "Why don't y'all ever invite me? You're 25. You can do this on your own."
Oh Lord.
You can do this on your own. But yeah, the trend that for me, I nothing against going into, a government job afterwards. It's just that's not what I felt called to do. So
Right.
I did what I felt driven towards, without a plan, but it
Yeah.
worked out.
Yeah. And I think that's so good that you like were in tune
Yes.
with your calling, like you knew that your purpose was more than just, going to the 9 to 5, if you will. And I'm with you. There's no shade. My husband's, in federal space. I have
Yeah.
lots of family and friends
Yeah.
who are in the federal space. But I also knew that when I retired, that wasn't something that appealed to me.
Yeah.
Like I had been through the wickets, if you will,
Yeah.
of that system, and it was so structured that I wanted to see what else was out here.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
we're like little butterflies. We need to fly away. We need free. We need to be free.
I know. I just like I just want to know what's out here
What
first, and
more?
what
Yeah.
more is out here,
Yes.
and what can I use, what can I do at that I've mastered really well
Yes.
through, my military career experience, and how can I serve and
Yeah.
help other people on the other side based on what I know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I think that's so important for, us if we, ever have an opportunity. And if we're speaking to our audience, if you have an opportunity to really like figure out what it is that you really like to do. And
Yeah.
is there a possibility of doing that outside of a 9 to 5?
Yeah. One of the things I would say to that too, figuring out what you really want to do doesn't happen right away. It didn't
Yeah.
happen right away for me. I will say that. And you have to give now I know that giving myself grace and space and
Mm,
understanding it's okay. If I choose to do this today, I can pivot. It's okay to change my mind and say, you know what, this is not really it, and you keep working until you find that thing that just energizes you and you're just living for that. So I went through a process before I got to this point today, like where I'm more confident, more outspoken. And that's also with having a coach, because I was stuck in military. It was
mm,
very hard for me to really separate my military identity from and realize who I was, and
yeah.
even sometimes I still go back there, and I have friends, other military friends, are like, you're being rigid again, like uh tone it down a little bit,
Wow.
even sometimes when I kind of switch. I'm so aware when I'm turning on the structure. I'm turning on the military posture, like the serious. They're like that. No, no, that is not authentic. That is not you. Um, can you fix that? Show up. Not showing up with something.
But you know what? We were programmed. It's a
Yeah,
condition, right?
it
Like
is.
that's how we were rewarded. If
Yes,
we were
yes, yes,
rewarded if we were in a certain posture, if we looked a
yes,
certain way with a
yes,
stern, serious approach, because mission and sometimes mission was hard.
yes.
And it's hard to kind of go away from that. We were talking, y'all, before we even came here on the show about like going fast, like
Yeah,
walking fast,
doing
moving
everything.
fast. We just like fixed on
Slow
a point,
down. Yes, yes,
and I also love that you said, you know, you don't have to like find yourself right away. Like you take the time to really find me, and it's okay if you don't know what you want to do after you
yeah,
retire. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So, like, what did you do? Like, what was I would say, the best decision or the best um, way that you got to a point where you felt like I'm rediscovering Renee again outside of the uniform?
There were several things that led to that. I will share this. Owning your own business. I had a brick and mortar, and in the military, we constantly have things to do. You know,
Mhm.
owning my own business, I had a lot of dead space that I didn't know what to do with, because, if you were like me in the military, you had a list of things that need to be, you had to be at this meeting, you had to do this briefing, you got to go check on the soldiers here. It's so much that you have to do. And, when I opened my fitness studio, when the clients were coming in, it was great because I didn't have to stop to think about anything extra. But it was when it was slow. It was the most challenging times for me. And this started happening to me, and it took me by surprise, took me off guard. I started hallucinating.
Mm.
Yes, when you know what something is, and this is where that whole pride, I'm a leader, I retired as a captain, I'm strong, like all of this, you're like, I am not going to ask for help, right? But when it started getting worse and worse, to the point where I was having like episodes where I'm screaming, like screaming at my kids, and I'm constantly apologizing in tears, breaking down in tears, because I'm not understanding the emotion. I'm
Mhm.
not understanding, how my response. So I would say the first thing was deciding to get help,
Mm.
because as a leader, we're encouraging our soldiers, go get help, go seek help, but you never really once, well, I'll speak for myself, I didn't think that I would ever need the help, because I know what to do, right? I know what to do.
Right.
I,
Right.
I tell people what to do, so I know what to do. So
Exactly. Mhm.
yeah, so when it started affecting my the pivotal moment for me was when I really had experience with my toddler, and I couldn't stop myself, and it was very traumatizing for her. Now I traumatized my older son too. This is where I kept apologizing, and just I was like, and I would walk away like, why couldn't you stop? Why didn't you just stop? So when it started affecting my daughter, I was like, no, I am not going to be in a position where my kids are afraid of me. I'm going to go ahead. That was the straw for me. So that part, getting the mental health support that I needed for that, and working through those emotions, working through those things. I was a mortuary affairs officer when I retired, um,
Mm.
and I deployed doing and served as a mortuary affairs officer. So that was what was affecting me. The mental health support. Then I got a coach, and especially for business. Then I started getting out. I was isolating. I really was. I would, even though I had a business, I
Mhm.
didn't go out and network. When I didn't have clients, I didn't have a studio to where you could just come in. It was all appointment based.
Yeah.
So I knew when my clients were coming. When they weren't there, I would close the door. I would lock the door and stay in that building by myself, and just doing whatever I'm doing, whether it be, at the time it was CEUs for my personal training business, just
Mhm.
educating myself more. So I would say to that is, get the support that you need. But I made sure I got the mental health support. I just really could not live with my children being afraid of me, or just having not having a good relationship with my family as a whole. And getting coaching, just getting out. We have to, no one is going to come to save us, I think. Yes, yes. So it is important to seek help as a
Mhm.
mortuary affairs.
Absolutely.
Yes, it really is, because it did play it. And I'm saying this in layman's say, but it did mess with my head.
Mhm.
It did. It messed with my head. Um, and I did, but it's in the quiet moments that those things happen. It was in the quiet moments that it happened. It wasn't when I was busy. So I hope I
Yeah.
answered your question, because I went
Oh,
all.
no, you answered that perfectly because like you said, we were just going.
Yeah,
There was never I know, I can relate as well. It's like we never really had time to process
yeah,
all the different things that were happening. And we would just say, "Hey, go on to the next, go on to the
yeah,
next." And then you're saying in the quiet moments, and I think that has a lot of resonance with people, especially for us that are been veterans who are, trying to figure out,
yeah,
what to do when we're by ourselves, because I noticed for myself, I started talking a lot to
yeah.
myself,
Yes.
and it was a lot of almost to a point where I was expecting somebody else to respond that was in the room.
And then
And
you
I'm like,
realize nobody's here.
nobody's here. You know what I mean?
Like,
And I
oh,
yeah, and I think that's because when we were in the military, we were surrounded by so many
yes,
people all the time
yes,
that, I wasn't there was no lack of support or
yes,
people
yes,
and that I could just, vent to. And I was
yeah,
just like, oh, okay. But now it's just really me. And
yeah.
so then I started talking to myself. I'm like, okay, Rochelle, like get out
Don't
into
answer.
it else.
Don't answer. Don't answer.
So I love that you shared your story and
Yeah,
that, you went and sought help and that, it was beneficial to you because our children, they do get to see sides of us
yeah,
that we're not proud of. We're not proud of the way that we've spoken to them and
right.
and it was because of things that we were affected by or may
Yeah.
have been affected by while we were in service.
And
You
not
know?
really processed, because
Yeah.
it for me it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like one day, and I mean, there are other stuff that started happening, but that was a pivotal moment for me. And it's just, even now when I coach, I encourage women to, understand that everybody's journey, we're all in different stages of our journey. And it's really nothing to be ashamed of. I got some very good advice when I first got out, but I think it was timing and the how it was said to me, right? Because I
Mm.
was just I'm someone that's always seeking mentorship. I just want to learn and grow. And when I first got out, I asked someone, I was like, I just feel like there's so much more that I could do. And I just, like, what did you do? And she was like, you better go sit down somewhere. And I was like, oh, well, that's not nice. Well, but later as I evolved,
Yeah.
it was good advice. The delivery just was not the best way, and she could have elaborated,
Yeah.
like just elaborate a little bit. But that's kind of some of the things I encourage. I don't, like impose what you should do, what you must do this, you should this. I encourage people take some time to decompress. I did not do that. I got out of the military, and you're still on that fuel. You're still on that high. You're like on this, you're still working off fumes from the military. You're just working on fumes. You're just like, I still gotta go. I gotta go. But I encourage people, take some time to just step back a little bit. Take a month. Maybe if a month is too long, take a week, take 2 weeks, but just really take some time to kind of come down a little bit. Just process some things. So that you can just really figure things. You're not going to figure it out in that time that you're taking, but you just really, what's the word, just kind of decompress, like
Yeah.
come down off that high, per se. Because I was
Which
just like, I gotta
which is extremely hard and difficult
yes,
for
it
us to
is.
do. We
Yes,
are highly driven, ambitious women,
yes,
getting after it, making ish happen. And when it's time to say, okay, just, go sit down somewhere. And
let's
I'm
pause.
guilty of it. I'm
Yes,
always like thinking, hey, for me, it's my age. And I'm like, I
yes,
don't want to like having to think about things that I'm in regret because I didn't use the time that I have
yes,
here to do some things. So, but I do have to be mindful that on the
yes.
days that I don't have anything going, don't fill up the calendar,
Why you
Rochelle.
don't
It's okay to
let
be,
it be?
yeah, you don't have to fill it up. And if you don't want to put no makeup on for the day and just be
Yes,
in your pajamas
just
for
be
the
out
day,
there.
then that's what it's going to be, and
Yeah,
I always have to tell myself it's okay, Rochelle. Like just
yeah, yeah.
it is all right. Now we do have several people that have came onto the show, Renee, that I just want to make sure that we have welcomed them in very
Okay.
well. So Donnell, he is a United States Army veteran, hub.
Uh-huh.
And so he is here. And Monica, me and her worked together where we were
Hi,
stationed at
Monica.
Ellsworth. So thank you for being here, my queen. And of course, Chevy was on here giving us a little bit of insight. And she's
Yeah,
like, wow, she can totally relate to what
yeah.
you're saying. And then Camille is another sister in arms that
Hi,
retired
Camille.
from the Air Force. And
Yeah,
so, everyone here can relate to what we're speaking about,
yeah,
right? And, one of the things that you were talking through earlier was this mindset shift,
yeah.
right? Like having to do things differently or to approach things differently when you're transition. So, like tell us a little bit about either from your experience or from your clients, since you're working with women,
Mhm.
and especially women veterans,
Yeah.
like what is that mindset shift that we should be mindful about?
Yeah. So, in the military, we're very direct, right? We're
Mhm.
very direct. I would tell it we're resilient. there's nothing we can't do. Even if we can't do it, we know somebody else that can do it. And we're just very resourceful. You know what? I don't know how to do this, but I know somebody, my friend Rochelle. Let me get her. I'm gonna ask her. But we just nothing is impossible. We got it,
Nothing.
right? So one of the things that I had that was really, really like an eye opener. I mean, really had me spiraling because it was from people that were close to me as well, is that I had to understand that they didn't understand me. I think one of the things we forget when we went in at 18, I'm coming out at 30, 39, 40. I'm not the same 18-year-old that went into the military, right? So we come out like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be with my family. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Your whole way of thinking is different. Your whole way of being is different. And it may be offensive to others. So that's what the biggest challenge for me is that I was thinking they were the same, and they were probably thinking, oh, she's the same, but until you start doing things together, you're like, oh, I don't really like that. I don't like you right now. I don't like, that's not how I do things. All of that's kept coming. But everything starts with you, right? You cannot expect them to understand and to adjust to who you were. I mean, and for me, the way I was caused a lot of offense to a lot of people. And I was offended because they were offended.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, I'm the same person, but I'm just trying to help. And my help was not translated to it's like it was translated in the form of me thinking I'm all that, thinking I know everything, thinking I can do all things. And it was coming from a place of, I just know how to do it. And
Yeah.
if I don't know how to do it, I know someone that does. It's not about you. But I had to understand that because I was taking it personally, and just really working on that. And that was challenging. I say it was very challenging because now I'm peeling back onions. Now I've got to assess Renee, my delivery. It's not saying that I'm going to change the way I say or take away what I mean. It's just, how do I say this so that it's received, right? And I don't come off a certain kind of way. So the biggest mindset shift was really translating me to other people, and then learning how to communicate and to relate to civilians, because that's a whole nother job that you don't get paid for. You don't get paid.
No.
You don't get paid for that.
Girl, listen, I'm gonna just, if I can, you said so much. It's like the aha, moment has just clicked in for me, because you're right. We were in a whole other world,
Yes.
if you will, and our family, they just kept on trucking along, right? They were doing their everyday thing. And I noticed that, and me and my husband both in the military, and it's very, I would say, intimidating to some of my family members to know that we've got like 30-year chiefs, that know how to do stuff, that like can figure stuff out in a matter of seconds, and I really didn't put too much thought into it, and the longer you stay in the military, the more of that,
programmed you are.
And so, some of my family's members, and they'll probably be watching or whatnot, they're not receptive to me. And it's not like I'm upset with them or anything like that. It's just, I went in when I was 18, and like you said, we were in there for a long time, and I went out at almost 50. I was 49.
Is that mine or hers? I wonder if that's mine or hers. I think she froze. Am I still live? I think she froze everyone. We're gonna see if she's gonna come back. We're gonna wait for a second to see if she comes back. She's probably trying to log back in. But until then, if you can hear me, can you like send me a message? See if I could see it. I don't know. She had control of that.
Need to remember one important thing when we're getting. Okay, y'all. Oh, so okay. First of all, y'all, there's high winds here in the DMV. So if you're in the DMV, the winds are like at 60 miles per hour out here, and we got a generator out there, so it actually kicked in do this, and reset. So I'm just grateful and blessed to have a generator that's
Yes.
going to keep us going.
Yes.
So if you were here before and you dropped off, or you see somebody who's dropped off, let them know that we're back on. Okay, y'all. So we're apologize for the disruption, but I have no control over the wind.
Yes. That's Mother Nature. She's
Oh my
speaking.
God. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so we were at the mindset shift, and then we were talking about reconnecting and the
Yeah.
family, our friends that went in. We went in and we came out, and it's just not the same as it was
Right.
before.
Yeah.
So how do you move through that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's some of the things I try to help the our veterans with too, because it's so many things that we're not prepared for. The financial transition, we're not prepared for the emotional transition at time, the physical, yes, many of us, we've done PT all our lives, but we have an aversion to it when we get out for some reason. We're mad. We don't want to do it no more. We have, but what we fail to realize is that we have a choice. We don't have to do it at 5 or 6. We can do it at 7 or 8 or even 12 or at night. You can do it whenever you want to now. So, it's just really readjusting, resetting how we used to do things. And it all goes back, in my opinion, it really goes back to you really being ready to working on yourself so that you can be a better you for everyone else.
Yeah. I think that you just like touched on a lot of different things that I had to find ways to adjust, and I thought it
Mhm.
had to be one way.
Yes.
So, for instance, I had the alarm clock set for like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And my husband, he's like, why is that alarm clock on so early when you don't have to be anywhere? Like, I don't understand this. So I was like, well, I'm just going to get up. I just get this PT done. And then as soon as I would work out, I would have all this time on my hands
Yes.
to kind of just sit around. But
Yeah.
what I was deciding to do was going and finding out where all the malls were within a 25-mile radius. Because I was like, I just go walk around the malls. And then after that, I was like, why are you walking around in the malls
Yeah.
all day,
Yeah.
wandering around? So
Yeah.
yeah, there has to be some adjustments every, time that you're seeing that you're just like box yourself in
Yeah. Yeah.
and made it to be as
Yeah.
it has to be this one
Yeah.
way or it doesn't
Yes.
work, you know?
Yes. And to that, I say we just have to give ourselves grace, because that's something we have to, like you said, reprogram. We have to, you know, really separate ourselves. It's not saying that to disregard your military, because like for you and I, that's our life.
Yeah.
We grew up in the military, we got married in the military, we had kids in the military, we went to school. That's our life, you know. And to the other thing, when we're talking about the transition too, we at a young age, especially for you and I going in at so young, we're exposed to a lot of things that our
Yeah.
family members are not exposed to
Mm.
real fast, and it's not a choice for us. Some of it's not a choice. So, there's so much that we have to work through, so much that we have to kind of, get through to really for ourselves,
Yeah.
really for ourselves. And because they cannot understand all of what we're trying to process being out, being a civilian, trying to understand why you're complaining about something. To me, that's something simple to me. Like, well, just go do it. Like, why, but that's how like, you're sick, go to sick call. You know, you don't feel well, call the doctor, go to the emergency room. But, it's a whole different energy, different, way of being and thinking that we really have to consider, when
Yeah.
we're dealing with our family members and friends, and who are not military.
Yeah. Well, you just like opened up another,
Like layers to us.
they're the layers,
Layers.
of how people perceive us,
Yes, yeah,
as opposed to how we see ourselves. Because
yeah,
we see ourselves as we were able to navigate in a system that was not designed for us to succeed. I
yes,
mean, that's just what it is.
yeah,
And now it's like when you say you're too much of this, you're too much of
yes.
that,
Oh,
you think you know all these
yeah,
things. What makes you better than us, kind of
yeah,
thing. And it's not any of that. And it's really like trying to come to, the meeting of the minds, if you will, of, hey, I've been here, I've been there. I can't help it that I know and experienced a lot,
Yeah.
and we're trying to just be helpful. And
Yeah.
sometimes they just don't want you to be helpful.
Yeah. I think sometimes too, we don't recognize that we're actually on another level, and we just need to find the people like us, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be military people.
Yeah.
We're in a different space.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I encourage people to do. Find your tribe.
Yeah.
Your family may or may not be your tribe, and that's okay. Go, and that's part of us getting outside. We have to get out of our box, the box that we put ourselves in. When we
Yes.
isolate, we're separating ourselves from the masses. So we have to get out, network, go meet people, go volunteer. Just that's how you get out of the program that we're so used to. You really have to get out into the community and be a part of the community, and then you'll really find what it is. You'll find your it, but you have to go mix and mingle to find
Yes.
it. And I'm not talking like going to the clubs. Find things to elevate
You said
yourself.
go to the club.
I'm not
Don't go
talking
to
about going to
the
the clubs, mix and mingle. I'm talking about go to a conference, go to a networking event, go to the Chamber of Commerce. That's where I started.
Me too.
And it just opened. I was like, oh, like
Me too.
people.
I know. And
Yes.
I got that recommendation from someone where I was stationed at my very last duty station, and they were like, "Hey, you should really look into the Chamber of Commerce because as leaders, as being people who like to serve in the community, you'll get a lot from that because they're
Yes.
having meetups, and they're having lunch and learns, and they're having ribbon cutting
Yes.
ceremonies, and
Yes.
there's
Yes.
so many
They have
different
so many
activities.
programs that really speaks to us as veterans. Honestly, I did a
I do
leadership
too.
program with the city of Griffin, close to where I live. I did their leadership program, and it just opened up so much for me. But we have to get into those spaces and just introduce ourselves. It taught me how to speak a little better, how to introduce myself a little bit. Because in the military, it's just like it's routine. It's like you're so, and we don't have any. We say we have tact, but when we get out the military, we realize we don't have no tact. Because you just say whatever you want to say, and you just got to be okay with it. I said what I said.
Yeah.
Why are you still talking to me?
Right. Carry on,
You
please.
hear me? At ease. At ease.
Y'all,
Nobody cares.
it's like it's a lot.
It's like it is like they're not listening to me.
No, at all. And I really do appreciate you saying that too, because it is like it's a redirection.
Yes,
You got to reshape yourself. You have
yeah.
to, reframe some of the things that we
How
were
you
doing
say it.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
then go through. And so, for me, I took the route of just go through the entire transformation process.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like let's like enter the unknown in this space, and
yes,
as if you don't know anything, just learn as much as you possibly can. Listen more than you talking,
yes,
because there's so much that I had no idea about,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so getting ourselves out, and I love that advice, like
yeah,
getting outside, finding your tribe, finding like-minded people,
yes,
really having the level of conversations that
yes,
you were used to at your higher levels of leadership when you were in the military. You can find that out in the civilian
yes.
community. It
You
just has to
can.
be the right people.
Yes,
You know what I mean? So, I love that, like the mindset shift
yeah,
as well. And the what we're talking about is self leadership. Really,
yeah,
it's about leading ourselves as opposed
yes,
to meeting
Everything
all
starts
these
with you.
folks.
Yes, everything starts with you. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, the other thing that I really, we're like, again, we have so many similarities. So, like, you went and you wrote a book.
Yeah. Well, it's two anthologies that I did. So the first, I think actually have them both here. So the last one was called Our Journey from Girls to Women. This is the last anthology that I wrote. It was 26 women in this anthology. And this other one is She Said Yes to Herself Unapologetically. So
Oh,
this is where I got living on unapologetic. I played on the unapologetically in this book, but you know, even growing up, I was very insecure, very shy. And even when I talk to some of my military colleagues right now, they're like, we didn't see that. But I knew that. I knew
mhm.
that, in the military, you have to show up. Even
Yeah,
when you're scared, you have to show up. And,
you do.
so you have to lead even when, you think you don't want to. You have
You
to
sure
lead.
do.
So um, I partnered with, the first one was 31 women living unapologetically beyond the, she said yes to herself unapologetically. And then, Our Journey from Girls to Women, that one was more of a reflection going back to my childhood, really. And this is where I said, when we're working on ourselves, we have to really go back and peel, understand who we were. We talk about transitioning from the military. It really is a process. It's
Yeah.
a process, because there may be things that you have not dealt with, but the military was just a big distraction.
Mm.
You didn't have to think about it. You had too much to do. You had wars to fight. You had soldiers to take care of. You had missions to accomplish. So you're not thinking about all the things, all the things that you've left unresolved, right?
Right.
And these are the things that show up when you transit. Can't Well, I'll say this: it showed up for me when I transitioned. A lot of unresolved issues. So writing those two books is the start. I really want to do just one by myself. I want to do
Yeah.
a book for just me alone, but I didn't have the courage to do it alone. Doing it as an anthology, and that's me being so transparent. I still felt like I had a community. I felt like I wasn't alone in it. You still got to go find me in the book.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. So I just said that to someone the other day, and it really was something that I was like, wow. Another thing where I tend to hide, right? I tend
Mm.
to hide. So
Mm.
me writing a book with just a solo book would be me coming out, living unapologetically beyond the uniform, just me out here. Fire
Yes. Yes.
mission Renee.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so, I mean, like, again, these are very eye-opening, maybe, things that I really didn't think about,
Yeah.
because we are so distracted when we're
Yeah.
in uniform. We are just going about our business and
Yeah.
not really having to sit down with our feelings and our
Nope.
emotions and process
You don't
anything.
have time.
And you don't. And I really, like, at the last couple of years of my career, I really saw it come to a head,
Yeah.
because there was a lot of tragedy that was happening on the base, and I
Yeah.
was just going through from one tragedy to
Yes.
the next, to the next, to the next. And it was during the pandemic, and then George Floyd was killed
Yeah.
during that
Yes.
moment, and the insurrection of and it was just the
Yes.
compounding
Yes.
events. And it was like, man, this small period of time, comparatively to all these other years that
Yeah.
I've been in service, has really taken a toll on
Oh,
me.
yeah. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're really trying your hardest to, like, figure out, like, how am I showing up?
Yes.
Am I showing up present and fully accounted for?
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I remember during that time too, I was not processing what was going on. I really wasn't. I remember my son kept talking to me about it. And the more he kept talking to me about it, the more my chest would hurt. And I was like, I can't. I was like, it's too much. When he kept bringing it up to me, I was like, June, please, it's too much. It literally was too much for me. So, we're so used to pushing those things aside. And that's what ultimately sometimes just really it come crashing down, and you're in a place where, whoa, I did not deal with this. There's some
Yeah.
things I need to really sit through and figure out, go through it, and
Yeah.
understand my own emotions, how I felt, how it affected me, how, like you said, how am I showing up for everyone else?
Yeah.
Because if I'm not processing, that means how I'm showing up is not fully and present.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this is a process, y'all. And I know we have a lot of women veterans who tune into this show. It's a lot for us to think about and to deal with, but
Yeah.
it's not anything that we can't do for
Right.
ourselves.
Yes.
We just need to make sure that we reach out to get the help that we need,
Yes.
to really walk through, some of these situations, and then really figure out, like, who are you and
Yes.
how do you want to be. And I'm still in my becoming stages, even though
Me
I
too.
retired in 2021.
Yeah.
And even pictures that I saw of me like a few months after I retired are much different than what I
Yes.
look like right now.
Yes.
you
Yes.
know
You can even see your maturity. Like, you know what I mean?
yes.
It's I was looking at a picture I looked like a little kid when I first got out. Now I look like I'm an adult. Now I'm
Exactly.
adulting.
I know.
Yes.
I don't know if that is some phenomenon, or that
Yeah.
people have pointed out for themselves, but I really saw that for me
Yes.
too. And I think it's because when you own yourself,
Yes.
of where you're at, and like how much you've been through,
Yes.
you're just like, you know what?
Yes.
This is me. This is
Yes.
like
It's
me.
so true. I used to be so afraid to be myself, like be goofy and silly. And I have a wonderful coach. She was like, "You're not showing up." And she reminds me, she's like, "This is not, no, no." So, and I had to embrace that because growing up, you're told you're too much, you play too much, you're not scared,
Mhm.
all of those things, and they play on you. So
Yeah.
the how you are in the military, it you become that serious person, and you're pushing down who you really are, because you got to show up as a commander, you have to
Yeah.
show up as a senior leader, you have to show up as a leader, but
Yeah.
then and you can't be playing around. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's going to
Oh,
take you
yeah.
seriously. So
Yeah.
coming into myself, just being the playful, and it's time and place,
Yeah.
understanding that, but it doesn't have to take, you don't have to completely lose yourself into it. Bring your energy, bring who you are, let people see you for who you are. And I'm saying this now because I was not there. Was not there.
Well, I think, when I started to wear pink, I think that's where it really started to be like, this is who you are. Like, this is
Yes.
truly deep down inside before you even went in the military. I grew up almost like a tomboy. I was the oldest
Yes.
child. And, in a lot of different ways, I think my dad wanted me to be a boy because I was doing a lot of boy-like things.
Yes.
And I really wanted to be a girl, like a
Yes.
full, like a full
Yes.
girl.
Yes.
And so I went from the extreme, from straight lace, straight face, serious, like
Yes.
staring people down all day, to, okay, put this pink on. And you have to present. There's a different
Yes.
energy that you
It
present with your
is. You got to show up in the
you got
pink.
to show up in a
Show up
different
in the
way.
pink.
And
Yes.
it's definitely a reminder for me to be like, okay, be a little bit more empathetic, be more
Yes.
compassionate, be a little bit more softer,
Yes.
don't try to come in here and take somebody's head off. It's
Yes.
like, so it's a reminder to myself, which has helped me in a lot of different ways. But, each of us are on our own path or
Yeah.
our own journey. And it's just, we have to, use tools. And
Yeah.
I'll say they're tools
Yes.
for us to again, redirect. Because
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you need to rehaul your whole life. It's
No.
just to redirect where
Yeah.
you're trying to go and where you're trying to be, in this next chapter.
Yes.
So I absolutely appreciate you coming here
Of
on the show.
course. Yes.
And besides all the disruption, which it is what that is.
Yeah.
So tell us anything that you would like, to leave us with, to kind of like ponder or to think about before we leave. And I have one more question for you as well.
Yeah. The transition process, it's ongoing, because you're gonna start out with one thing, and then you're gonna move on to another. But the one thing that I would really encourage, just everyone listening, is to give yourself grace and space. That is something I had to learn. Quit to stop beating myself up.
Mm,
Nothing, everything doesn't have to be perfect. It's just understand where you're at, and you move from that place. Your experiences, they count for something. There, you are, you're fully equipped to be the person that you want to be. We just have to, I think sometimes too, it's a lack of confidence we have because we're stepping into something new. We're not self-conscious. It's just like, okay, I've done this thing the same way for so many years, and now I just feel, and I felt insecure just stepping into the civilian realm, because I was like, I was still trying to report to someone even though I own my own business. I was in a BNI, wanted to ask permission. I've evolved. Okay, I've grown, but I'm, I'm telling you, it was a lot, but really give yourself grace, and space and time. It's not a race. You
mm,
don't compare yourself to the next person. But I would also encourage you, if you see someone doing something that you admire, that you like, reach out to them. you
yeah.
know what I've come to realize, people want to help, but we come up with our own stories. Well, Rochelle is doing this, so she's probably busy. But I just reached out to you in your LinkedIn, but if you don't mind,
Yeah. And that's all
you
it
can
takes.
and
Yeah.
I was like, look, we're doing the same thing. I would really love to connect with you. I want to learn from you,
Absolutely.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
Do that. Do that. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone and say, hey, you know, this is where I'm at. Can you provide me some tips? Can you offer me some solutions? Or what did you do? Because I like what you're doing. That's all it takes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I think if we do that more, we would be such a better and more impactful
Yes.
community. And even if you're in the same lanes,
Yes.
people get a little bit nervous about,
Yeah.
oh no, she's doing the same thing I'm doing. I'm like, but she ain't you.
Right.
So,
Right. No
like,
one can be you but
you.
you.
Exactly.
No
So
one
what are
can
we
be you
talking
but
about
you.
right now? Like,
Yes.
let's
Yes.
get that out of our head.
Yeah.
And there's enough for all of us to eat at the
Yeah.
table. There's enough,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of women who need our help,
Yeah.
who may have gotten into a place where they're either stuck, they're not quite
Yes.
sure. They may have had another transition within the transition, because
Yes.
that usually happens too. Um,
Yes.
so
Yes.
to having resources like ourselves to just kind of say, hey, what is going on? And that's what
Yeah.
we're here to do.
Yeah.
You're doing the life coaching, I'm doing personal branding. It's
Yes.
all in the vein of the same thing, to get
Same
you,
mission.
yeah,
Yes.
to get you from one place
Yes.
to the next. All
Yeah.
right, find your next level you,
Yeah.
however that shapes out to be.
Right.
So I just want to thank you so much for being on the show. So my last question is, on your 80th birthday, where you have your family and friends that are sitting around and, they're sharing stories and all of these things about you, what do you want them to say in that moment?
Oh, what do I want them to say in that moment? That's a good question. Ooh, Rochelle. Okay. Let me think for a second. Okay, what do I want them to say in that moment?
Yeah.
Um, I had an aunt. I think she was living unapologetically. We call her pretty auntie because
Mm.
she was in her 80s and still dressing fly with her makeup and everything. And I just really admired her. Um, I would want them to say in that moment that that they're so happy that I lived.
Mhm.
I lived my life. I really, that I was an example, a good example for them. I added value. That's what I could come up with now. Just remembering my aunt because I just admired her. I kind of try to channel her, like just be free. She was just so free, and
Oh,
she just lived. That's how it. I interpreted who she was. So she was free. So just that, they can say that, what, you lived, you did that. You set the bar high and you reached it. All of that good stuff, and that they love me.
yes. Well, I'm sure they're going to say that and
Yeah.
a whole lot more because, what you've decided to do was not only to get to a point where you can start to show up unapologetically,
Yes.
but now you're helping other women to show up unapologetically. And I don't think of another profession, if you will, where we get to serve other women
Yeah.
and to help them in whatever they're trying to do. It just makes the world such a better place. That's my thoughts, my
Yeah.
opinion on that. So I want to thank you so much again for being on the show.
Thank
And
you for
for
having me.
you're welcome. Of course, we're going to be on here
This is
again,
fun.
y'all. Okay.
I
I'm
love
just
this.
saying. So for all of my guests that were here, I know we had Chevy, we had Monica, Camille, Donnell stopped in for a little bit. Liana was
Yes.
here. And if I miss your name, is because I can't see the comments from where we had the break. But
Yeah.
know that I absolutely appreciate you being here physically with us, and your presence is like for me, like I couldn't ask for anything else because I know you can be anywhere else.
Yes.
So we are
That's
going to
what I
be back here next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, I have another Slaymazing guest.
feel.
All right. And so you don't want to miss out on that. You will see the preview when it comes out. Please make sure that you come on in and show some love. And let's see here. Oh, Camille was still here. Okay.
Yay!
Yes. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
and hanging with
Camille.
us for the entire show. I really appreciate you, Queen. Okay, so keep on slaying until you can't slay no more, and I will see you all soon. Bye bye. Love
Bye,
y'all.
y'all.